Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. Today I would like to talk deeper about all of the upcoming changes to the cargo hauling profession. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members. Thank you so much for the support, it is truly appreciated. Cannot do this without you. So as many of you may have noticed, Cloud Imperium are heavily invested in expanding the current cargo mechanic to a much more real-world hauling profession that scales from these simple, small package delivery missions that we have now, all the way up to large, long-duration consignment jobs and trading, playing the economic game like holding on to and storing certain commodities for a price hike to happen before selling. Now currently we have a very simple set of missions that are essentially just A to B delivery drop-offs. They don't really offer much in way of interesting gameplay, nor do they offer diversity or scalability in what we do. But when it comes to the cargo or hauling profession, think real-world professions on all scales, as this is what Cloud Imperium have said they will be replicating. From large container ships on the oceans distributing thousands of standard cargo units worth of goods or materials, being the Hull C style ships and above, huge storage facilities to hold these goods for further distribution, like the upcoming distribution centres planetside, or the cargo decks found above each landing zone, with ships, as I say, like the Hull series picking up or dropping off thousands of SEU worth of goods, and then other ships like the Caterpillar, for example, acting as lorries or trucks, taking these goods to and from planetside locations, like the distribution centres, for then smaller ships like the Hull Bs, Gattac Railings, and so on, to then deliver these goods to their final destinations planetside, and even smaller ships like the Cutlass or Freelancer, or even smaller than that like a Titan, acting as local delivery drivers as we see in the real world. Cloud Imperium are essentially recreating a real-world logistical system for Star Citizen that will offer something for everybody depending on what ship you have and how much time you want to invest. Now this is going to be an ongoing task for many of the different teams, like the mission team, the location teams, the economy team and more, all working together, and will start rolling out tours throughout the duration of this year, starting Q1 with the distribution centres and then freight elevators and personal hangars. Now as the cargo profession is a huge system that touches many other systems, it is difficult to know where to start when talking about this profession. I really think it begins and ends with the economy, but also the physical damage system as well, as Cloud Imperium have spent a long time putting together a huge database of recipes and ingredients for every single material and item in the verse, from a cup, a component, an FPS weapon, and of course a ship, a building, or even a space station, as everything will be made up of a recipe that requires ingredients A, B, C, D, and E, and so on, to be crafted. Now this is where the economy is of huge importance. They are already adjusting prices of everything that we have in game to marry up with the standard price of every ingredient plus the time to produce and distribute before a player or NPC heads to a store to buy the item. For example, as we see here from a talk during the 2949 CitizenCon with Tony Zurovec, he shows the basic recipe for what is required to build a power plant. It requires workers, it requires a time duration, but in terms of resources, it looks like it also needs some aluminium, some laranite, taranite, and agricium, but don't take this as final, this is just the demo, and then this will create potentially one power plant. So how does the factory, like a distribution center style location, get these commodities? Well, that is up to the players and NPCs to gather the resources, either mining or salvaging, and then get them refined, then transport those refined materials to the factory to then begin producing the power plants, which will then be shipped to the local planetside shop, where a player can buy it. And let us say that multiple players want to buy one, then there will be a demand, so let's hope that we can all keep up with the supply of these resources to the factory. But when you break a simple scenario like this down further and just separate out the hauling that is required here, you have players potentially hauling mined ores in saddlebags to refineries, taking the refined ores to the cargo deck, then distributing them from the cargo decks to the factories to then be produced, and then players shipping those power plants to the local planetside location for them to be placed in the shops. So already there are 3 or 4 various hauling requirements that can vary greatly on scale depending on the size of the haul. Not to mention, if a player bought a single power plant via their Moby Glass while they are at their planetside base, a player or NPC will then need to pick that item up and take it to them. And this system can scale massively depending on the size of the haul, or the resources or items, and where they are produced and where they're going. So as mentioned, it all starts and ends with the economy, which I'm sure I will mention throughout this video. So I guess how does this translate to the life of a hauler, and what is that going to look like in-game with all of these changes? Now this I suppose depends on the scale at which you want to be involved and the ship that you have to be involved with. Do you want to be a delivery driver taking the item to its final destination, as you may only have a small ship, or do you want to be handling thousands of SEU at a time, transporting them through multiple systems? Now this decision of course is yours, and the payout will scale accordingly. Now what I expect we will see roll out in either Q1 or Q2 are many distribution centres acting as either storage warehouses, producers or consumers, depending on the company that owns them, each offering a vast amount of mission types beyond just hauling, like maintenance or passenger transport, but primarily focused on hauling and transportation. Now as the economy gets further fleshed out, players will see many missions both handcrafted and dynamically spawned based on the economy, offering hauling jobs of all scales, from handing in documents to the front desk or a VIP inside, even flying that VIP to and from a location, but more significantly for this video, dropping off or picking up cargo. So for example, a job might involve you picking up X amount of standard cargo units of a commodity and taking that to the distribution centre, which will involve landing at a cargo deck, loading cargo yourself with a tool like the CTU hover trolley, or having NPCs do it for you, for a fee and a time duration of course, a good time to enjoy a coffee I suppose, and then flying down to the distribution centre and doing the same thing there, loading your cargo onto a vehicle and driving that vehicle into the centre itself to be offloaded, then maybe picking up some more while you're at it. And something to take into consideration is the type of cargo you are hauling, ensuring that you are handling it accordingly, as some of these commodities you will need to be careful with, as they can be delicate or volatile, or making sure that you have the right NPCs to move them as well, as some of the NPCs will be skilled in handling various types of goods, be that volatile or whatever, whereas others may not. Now this also requires players to consider the condition of their cargo hold as well, as some commodities might need specific internal conditions like temperature or pressure to keep the contents in the right state, or even to help support the containers themselves, as some of these containers will be specialised for the cargo inside, being able to monitor the container's integrity or temperature, keeping that container's power on, and checking in on them now and again, as container size and weight will vary. Some containers will have health and shielding that will need to be powered on to work. As mentioned, some will need to be temperature controlled. Lockable containers with valuables inside will need to be maintained, and we will also see hazardous cargo that may require players to wear protective outfits when handling it, or even perishable cargo that will have a time limit to be delivered, or prioritised and high-risk cargo that must be kept secret or might be illegal. Now these attributes will be visually represented as well, so if you are planning to steal something from a hauler and you see they're carrying some volatile cargo, if that's what you want, maybe don't just shoot straight away. Now, something that we will see expand for hauling is reputation, and this is going to be what makes doing these missions more rewarding and interesting, and as Cloud Imperium put it, provide a meaningful sense of progression. Now, as we heard during the recent CitizenCon panel called Destination Adventure, soon we will see the introduction of the Interstellar Transport Guild. Plus, they will be formalising all of the other main cargo and hauling companies, and as you do more work for these guilds or companies, this will lead to more lucrative contracts for, say, specialised cargo, as I just mentioned, and various destinations, with riskier routes being offered for a greater payout. So when it comes to navigating through a system or multiple systems, using your star map to see where pirate hotspots are, or better but longer routes could exist, will be very important. Also, as you advance in reputation, you won't just unlock better paid jobs, you will receive other rewards and perks like branded ship and tool skins, or branded clothing like a uniform for example, allowing you to represent the company and look the part. Also flare items and collectibles that you can display in your home or your hangar or on your ship, and other exclusive rewards, plus perks like access to more items in shops or discounts on specific items. And many more, I'm sure, as they think of other options. Now they did say that these rewards can only be earned in-game, they cannot be purchased. I mean, you could probably steal them, but basically if hauling is your jam, every time you set out to do a job for the guild or a company, you can stick your uniform on, get your ship with its branded livery, and really immerse yourself. Now, when it comes to getting yourself set up for the job at hand, soon this will be taking place in your hangar and using the freight elevator. And this will also play massively into the hauling profession and trading profession, which I will speak about briefly in a second. Having a place where you can store cargo means you can be a hauler of any scale, even building up a stockpile of enough containers of various commodities and then hauling them all in one go, or waiting for prices to fluctuate to take advantage of a price influx. Being able to set up your hauling ship to be ready for any job will be very handy. Getting it set for a small journey or loading up with supplies for a multi-system jaunt will be far more possible when we have these hangars and freight elevators. But from the UI team, Cloud Imperium will eventually create a cargo manifest app so you can check the contents in your hold or the integrity and various values of the containers. But when it comes to trading commodities, there will also be a trading app. So if it is exclusively commodity trading you're wanting to do and not running missions for someone else, there will be an app one day allowing you to monitor the markets and buy and sell to your heart's content. And as mentioned, with freight elevators and cargo decks, or even the distribution centers, you can buy and then store commodities where you want. And if you see a potential price hike coming along, quickly load up your cargo and go and cash in on it. Now, something else that was revealed pretty recently is how cargo grids will potentially be able to clamp down pretty much anything and everything from weapons, items, even ships, and transport these around safely. So for example, a Hull C could fill up with many Auroras attached to its spindles if it chooses to. But of course, this does lead us to the more sinister side of the verse, being pirates. With the evolution of the cargo profession and mechanics, inevitably this means more potential for pirate activity. So if more players are hauling goods of value, then more pilots will be on the prowl. Now, of course, there are many variables to whether or not you will bump into a pirate, and then many other variables as to whether you'll be able to get away or get rescued. Trade lanes, for example, cargo value, internal versus external cargo storage, the system or location you are in, and what you do when you encounter pirates. Do you pay them off, call for help, and how close are you to the nearest potential help? For example, will NPCs or players be able to get to you in time? Can you fight back or hold them off so that a rescue can make it in time? Or do you pay for an escort? Now, this area will never be simply black and white. There will always be a lot to consider and decide, even before you've left the hangar, and with a lot more in the works like master modes, the resource network, security and NPC abilities, beacons, and more. There will be a lot to consider and choose that will make any scenario and every single job so much more different than the last. Anyway, as you can see, Cloud Imperium are already heavily invested in taking the cargo mechanics and profession to a whole new level, and this is starting with all the work going on for the economy, and then throughout this year with distribution centers, timers, reputation, and so much more. It is going to be very impactful in every area of the game, and I'm really looking forward to finally living out my hauling dreams ever since I saw the original Freelancer commercial. But with that said, do let me know if I've missed anything out here, as cargo and the profession is a large system, so I must have forgotten something. But if you do appreciate my videos, please do consider subscribing and helping the channel to grow. Also, come and hang out over at twitch.tv/SuperMacBrother. The link is in the description below. We discuss this kind of thing in great detail amongst us all very often over on Twitch, and you are all more than welcome to come and take part. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind, it does the channel a big favour, and tick that notification bell if you would like to be notified when my videos go live. Again, a huge thank you to my patrons and channel members. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.